Welcome, folks, to The Uncommon Good with Bo Bonner and Dr. Bud Marr. Every week, diving deep into the truth of Catholic social teaching and restoring all things in Christ.
The Uncommon Good is on the air. I'm Bo Bonner.
I'm Dr. Bud Marr.
We are coming to you from the United States of America, where Bud and I both sound like we smoke, but we don't. It's just that time of year. If it's not colds, it's everything in the air and the fact that the weather cannot make up its mind. But we're here with you anyway on this Wednesday, Des Moines, Iowa, here in the convergence of two rivers. Should we start making that like a standard part of what we bring up so people know?
Oh, is that why there's Confluence Brewery?
Wait, you didn't know that?
The
Confluence of the Raccoon and the Des Moines.
Those are pretty cool names for rivers, too.
That's right, and especially since my kids have a theory. First of all, I have to disappoint them. I found out Des Moines, even though like the monks is like how that would seem in French, that's not what it's named after. It's a shorthand on a map for something else, which is very disappointing.
Rivers.
No, I forget what it is. I should look this up before I, on live radio tell people things. But point being is, spiritually it's the monks, but my kids go, oh, the Raccoon River, why did it name that? And for whatever reason, they concocted this tale that it must be named the Raccoon because a dead raccoon floated up right at the minute that they were like, we need to name this river. So I was like, well, the raccoon could be alive, but they're very intent that it was a dead raccoon for some reason.
Well, in the back of my mind, I think I knew that, but living in Pittsburgh, they talk about their rivers all the time. It's three rivers, and if you're on this highway, you're next to this river. So, I mean, it's very much at the forefront of their psyche where I feel like Des Moinesians are chill about their rivers.
That's right. It's just, if you're going to like name a brewery, you may as well do that. But here we are at the confluence of rivers, which I will also, but we're just laying things on the table here at the beginning, folks. That's why my wife and we do agree with this. I think most of the storms miss Des Moines. I know the derecho is this big one. But, there's this big sort of native wives' tale knowledge that tornadoes won't go where, like, rivers meet. And Des Moines always seems to have storms split around it. So I don't know if that's true or not. But the point, Bud, is this is where the radio broadcast is coming from. So we really set the scene for everybody. This is The Uncommon Good. We're glad that you're joining us this Wednesday. I'm Bo Bonner. I work over at Mercy College, where I'm the Senior Advisor for Mission Initiatives and the Director for the Center for Human Flourishing. And, Bud, what do you do at Des Moines, at Mercy College, which itself is very close to the convergence of the two rivers?
I'm the Associate Provost, so working in the administration over there, trying to support our program chairs and teachers. But when you mentioned storms missing Des Moines, there was it last Tuesday, we got a pretty strong gust of wind. And I'm surprised, I don't know if I've told you this story yet, but our little Mary, your goddaughter, actually almost got blown away.
Oh, wow.
Because we kept telling her to put the chickens in the chicken coop, and she procrastinated and then went out when it picked up. And it was a pretty strong gust, so I'm kind of like screaming at the doorway, like, get inside, get inside. She's not listening. I eventually had to drag her inside, and she was hysterical. She's like our little St. Francis. She's like, Caroline's going to die, like one of her chickens. And
right.
I said, well, you can't enjoy Caroline if you're dead. So
wow. So
I chose you over the chicken this afternoon.
The chicken's hell okay?
They survived.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad everyone's okay.
Wouldn't it be awesome is like, we had a great meal that night.
Oh, man.
Happy ending.
This is one of the best introductions we've had. All I want to say is Mercy College of Health Sciences underwrites our show, mchs.edu. I wish we could tell you that, like, people could sail up to the college and, like, disembark. It's not quite that much river-based, but we really are downtown in the midst of things. So mchs.edu if you want to find out more.
If you get injured in a storm, Mercy College of Health Sciences is training the medical professionals who will serve a lot of them Mercy One Medical Center. And so
also by the river. Now people know where things happen. So, but you know what? I think this works out too, because today we're talking about one of our favorite leaders, foundress of the Sisters of Mercy, the Venerable Catherine McAuley, servant of God. No, Venerable Catherine McAuley. And, in many ways, her life is a great journey and a sort of confluence of many different things. It's all just really natural here, folks. Bud and I do not plan this amazing orchestra and symphony of different parts. But that's what we're going to be talking about today here on the show. We're so glad to have you with us. So, yes, mchs.edu, but, of course, iowacatholicradio.com to catch up with what we're doing, where you can do that, find that out, donate, all those things like that. And you can also go on our social media to keep up with us as well. This is The Uncommon Good. Bo Bonner, Dr. Bud Marr. Stick around. We'll be back right after this.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by CTO. What great news for donors to the Catholic Tuition Organization. You now receive 75% of your donation back in Iowa tax credits. Your support has helped thousands of students attend our Catholic schools. Best gift ever. Online, ctoiowa.org. At CTO, the bottom line, it's for the kids and their future.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from Mercy One, your expert circle of personalized care for all your health needs. With more care locations than anyone, your best life is their one purpose. Find your doctor at mercyone.org. Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Dental Associates, addressing your smile needs and dreams. 515-225-6742. Des Moines-DentalAssociates.com. Thank you, Dental Associates, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Marr Security, a Catholic-owned family business providing security solutions for homes and businesses since 1953. PerMarrSecurity.com, 515-244-5660.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from Golden Rule, always seeking to serve customers better and to create job opportunities within the community. So with the new electrical division, Golden Rule now services all home maintenance concerns. Learn more at goldenrulephc.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Confluence Brewing Company, brewed locally since 2012 and featuring regular, seasonal, and limited release beers. Confluence Brewing Company, 1235 Thomas Beck Road off the bike trail south of Grays Lake. ConfluenceBrewing.com.
Welcome back, folks. Bo Bonner, Dr. Bud Marr here on this Wednesday on Iowa Catholic Radio with The Uncommon Good. We're so glad to have you with us. Today we're going to talk about, of course, keeping up with our sacrificial leadership motif that we've been doing this entire year. Talking about, of course, the saints. The saints as the prime example is what it looks like to be sacrificial leaders in imitation of Jesus Christ and his sacrificial, self-giving, kenotic, pouring himself out leadership that we all hope to imitate. And but of course, two guys working at Mercy College of Health Sciences. It's going to be very obvious that after we talk about Jesus, and the apostles, the Holy Spirit, that the saint we're going to bring up first is the foundress of the Sisters of Mercy, the Venerable Catherine McAuley. There's so much to talk about, but just in her very life history and her story, this idea of being self-emptying, pouring oneself out, she just embodies it in every way. So we've, of course, had multiple occasions to talk about her classes, speeches that we've given, berating people on elevators. There's too much to bring up about her life, but if you wanted to bring up some of the highlights that just show at the very foundation of who she is, how she is someone worthy of imitating when it comes to this sacrificial leadership.
Well, with Catherine McAuley's life, you really do receive a strong reminder about the working of divine providence, because the great works that we associate with her really came about because of some difficult and really trying experiences. So she lost her father when she was 5 years old, and then her mother died when she was 20. Well, it's a different society back then. A young woman who lost her parents at that age and is unmarried, she can't just turn around and do a degree somewhere and set up, a whole career path or whatnot. So she actually goes into housekeeping. She had grown up in relatively stable circumstances, but goes into a kind of a field of service that would have been maybe seen as more of a menial task or for a certain lower segment of society or whatever, but really does amazing work in this capacity. She works for two different families. The second one was a Quaker couple with the last name Callahan. And Catherine is doing all sorts of things with them, but she's so dedicated to this service that she eventually becomes to the Callahans like a daughter. so that when Bill Callahan dies, he was the second of the couple to pass away. He actually leaves his entire inheritance to Catherine. And this really struck me this morning because in preparing for the show, I'm feeling kind of old these days. I'll be 43 in September. Well, Catherine is in her early 40s when she first receives this inheritance from the Callahans. And so, like, in some ways, her life is pretty far along. She's gone from losing both of her parents in an untimely manner, sort of goes into this housekeeping role, and then at age 40 is, surprised with this, like, this changes the course of her life. But we're talking about self-sacrifice. Catherine, when she receives this money, she doesn't use it in a self-serving way, but ends up founding what's called a House of Mercy. A House of Mercy in Dublin, Ireland. Dublin, there's a lot of pressing societal needs at that time because of the Industrial Revolution. Had been, of course, a boon for some folks, but for others, it kind of left them behind. And so these Houses of Mercy are dedicated to reaching out, especially to poor women, to provide them with shelter, with basic sustenance, but also an education so that they might have an opportunity to, find jobs on their own.
And so wherever Sisters of Mercy end up, and that goes to exactly here in Des Moines, you sort of see these two hands, as it were. So, of course, everyone, I guess not everyone, but most people know that you hear about the spiritual and the corporal works of mercy, and we can talk about that later. But so this sort of two hands in which mercy reaches out to help people both in their sort of physical, material needs, but also in their spiritual, intellectual needs. And the Sisters of Mercy, of course, embody that nearly everywhere they go. You see hospitals and universities, hospitals and schools, and, of course, Des Moines is no different. And those two hands, of course, are very geographically close. We have Mercy One Hospital downtown. Birthed from its side, of course, here in Des Moines is the nursing school. And then, of course, we have our school that eventually ends up as the college, Mercy College of Health Sciences. But all of this is, so to speak, very early in the life of the sisters. As you point out, not early in Catherine's life, she sort of makes this abrupt change. And as you've pointed out, if you got that yourself, I agree with you. If we got this boon in our 40s, after we'd worked so hard, we'd probably go, I put forth my effort. I did my merciful thing. Yeah. It's time to take it easy. Not only does she turn that wealth into a house dedicated to helping the sort of people mowed over by the massive changes of the Industrial Revolution, but she actually walks into a lot of conflict. So you would go, oh, well, that's the end of the story, right? She makes a House of Mercy and everybody's happy for her, but that's not it at all. Yeah. She's walking right into controversies that, once again, Providence uses those circumstances to radically change her life and the life of Ireland.
Yeah, you see in her life a real balance between God's working and God sort of surprising us with plans that we don't foresee for ourselves, and a kind of like openness and radicality, really, to step out and make some real, to step out and take some real risk. So when Catherine and her companions found this first House of Mercy, they don't have any plans to found a religious order. Like, it's just lay women doing the work of the kingdom with their neighbor who's closest to them. But eventually, really, Bo, as I remember the story, like, it kind of raises some concerns on the part of, like, the local bishop and other pastors in the area, because it was unusual for women during that time period sometimes to be, like, reaching out to these communities. So eventually, Catherine and her companions, after they found the Sisters of Mercy, they're known as the Walking Nuns. Most of religious sisters before that time were contemplative and very sort of like rooted in a spot and rooted in this life of prayer. And the Sisters of Mercy are no different in terms of their emphasis on the importance of prayer to the work that they're doing. But they're out in the streets. They're out reaching out, sort of like our current Pope talks about, out to the margins and finding the least of these to serve. And that's where the move to found a religious order is really sort of like a practical thing in conversation with their own spiritual director, saying, like, it makes sense for us to be sisters as well, and this provides kind of like an identity and a purpose to the work that they're doing.
And what I think is surprising is there is this real way in which Dublin at the time doesn't know what to do with, so to speak, and I'm using the terms of those times, unattached women who are neither in a convent nor married doing this sort of work. And so there's a way in which, I think it's honest to say that a begrudging or at least a hesitant, like, okay, well, let's go explore this idea of religious life. But in one more way, Catherine being open to these things she goes and does a novitiate, and in that novitiate finds a sort of deep calling precisely to the religious life and founding what is both traditional, right? Like, so we're going to be sisters, we're going to have habits, we're going to have rules, but in this profound new way in which we are going to be out in the margins, walking the streets, finding people in the gutters, literally, to bring back to the houses of mercy. And with people asking all these questions, how's it's going to go, the providence of God immediately goes to work. The great cholera epidemics that just started rifling through Europe hits Ireland shortly after this. And it's the Sisters of Mercy in many ways that are the first flagship, the first grandmothers, as it were, of modern nursing. We can talk about Florence Nightingale and how actually Sisters of Mercy were very integral in sort of her innovations and progress that she made. But here at the cholera epidemics, right, Catherine's sisters that she just founded that she didn't think was going to be a thing, and now it was integral to the response in Dublin to this great difficulty, as you said, providence, both surprising people, but surprising them in maybe traditional ways precisely.
Yeah, growing up, we used to use the phrase, like, we plant the seeds and God does the work. And I think in this case, the abundance of the harvest was astounding. She received her inheritance in 1822 and died in 1841, so less than 2 decades later. But by the time of her death, there was already 100 sisters as a part of the order and over 10 foundations throughout Iowa.
Ireland,
Ireland. Yeah,
you talk to some of the Irish people around here; they agree.
Pretty much the same thing. Yeah, and so like if you think about Catherine serving as a housemaid in the Callahan household in 1821, like, who could envision just 2 decades later that the work would flower in that way, and that she would be the head of this entire order, and yet she never lost sight, Bo. I think of, with Saint Theresa of Lisieux, we talk about the little way. One of the most famous accounts from her life is that when she was on her deathbed, all the other sisters are gathering around her concerned, and she knew that other sisters were traveling from other parts of the country to see her. And what she says to those at her deathbed is, like, make sure that there's a warm pot of ready for tea. I just butchered this sentence. How would you make sure that warm tea is ready for the sisters?
Yeah, right. Something effective with kettles. Now yes. But the idea is, this is a foundational story that even on her deathbed, she has in mind others, and that this is going to be important for the spirit of the sisters. So you'll even see reflections of the sisters point out that instead of going quietly or being off by herself, she sort of moves her deathbed to a communal room so that the sisters together can, yes, mourn for her, but get this idea that the spirit that Catherine McAuley poured out is now with them to pour out as well. And so this having in mind others even upon our deathbed when we're suffering, she imbues that as characteristic of the Sisters of Mercy that they've lived up to this day, all the way here to Des Moines, Iowa. Well, we're coming up to a break. When we get back, we'll finish off talking about this seed that Catherine plants. This is the Uncommon Good. Stick around, and we'll be back right after this.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Skeffington's Formal Wear, in business since 1951, with locations in Des Moines, West Des Moines, Coralville, and Ankeny. Skeffington's Formal Wear, fitting you for life celebrations. Online at skeffingtons.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Construction Professionals. Construction Professionals does remodeling and new construction. Construction Professionals is a Catholic family business built on a strong foundation. CPCustomHomes.com. Thank you, Construction Professionals, for supporting Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. Established in Des Moines in 1924, St. Vincent de Paul assists those living in poverty to become self-sufficient by helping to remove roadblocks on their journey out of poverty. St. Vincent de Paul helps with food, clothing, and shelter, while also offering classes in financial literacy, high school completion, career readiness, and prisoner reentry. Shop, donate, volunteer, serve. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul, svdpdsm.org. Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from Caldwell Parish Funeral Home and Crematory. Caldwell Parish offers services that are unique to the individual while following the Catholic funeral rites. Caldwell Parish Funeral Home and Crematory, Des Moines' only Catholic-owned and operated funeral home.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Ashworth Vision Clinic. Complete eye exams, contact lenses, glasses, glaucoma testing, and pre- and post-operative care. 515-440-4610. AshworthVision.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production.
Back with the Uncommon Good, Bo Bonner, Dr. Bud Marr, joining you this Wednesday. Thank you for listening to the show. We are talking about our foundational model here at Mercy College and all Sisters of Mercy institutions. Foundational model of what sacrificial leadership looks like. The Venerable Catherine McAuley, who really does embody this kenosis, the pouring out, the self-emptying style of leadership. One of my favorite quotes from her, Bud, says that we should all be like shining lamps. We should be light for others to see, to lead the way. I tell this to students quite a bit, that in healthcare in many ways, but that's what healers do, is they're a lamp that people who are lost in the darkness of illness or confusion, they want to look towards people to light the way. And that lamp, right, that lamp light, of course, comes about because you pour out your light. Like, you know, you have that fuel within you, and then the light pours out and shows people where they need to go. Catherine McAuley did that all over the world, but for us here very relevantly in Iowa, that lamp led the sisters from Ireland to many of the places, especially on the eastern part of the United States, but all the way out here to Iowa, Omaha, places like this here in the middle of the country, where in the late 1890s, the sisters land. We get the hospital. We very quickly get the School of Nursing, and then eventually we end up with the college, Mercy College of Health Sciences. But all of that, like we said, because Catherine is willing to take providence on its terms and pour herself out in loving trust that God sees that and shines the path forward to the way we need to go.
Yeah, I think it's hard for us to see the full reverberation of our actions in the moment. And life really is kind of this reality that branches out in all sorts of different directions. And sometimes the most difficult task for us to undertake is one that's menial or tedious. And what you see with Catherine is like the great work that she accomplished that we revere her for today was really like a series of small steps where she gets this inheritance and uses it in a way that, like, I'm sure others around her were sort of confused or confounded. And then as these houses of mercy crop up, the work that they're doing is not necessarily glamorous, but by taking these small steps, these small acts of sacrifice, and I like the phrase that you used, Bo, pouring herself out. Today, you know, Mercy One Medical Center and Mercy College of Health Sciences stand at the heart of the confluence of rivers here in Des Moines. I've had two children, who were born in those places. And so really, like, our lives have all been impacted. I've talked to many Catholics who, like Sisters of Mercy, signed their birth certificate, or they can recall stories of being in the hospital or with a relative and seeing the sisters pass by with the Blessed Sacrament. Like, all of those things were made possible because of small sacrifices in the beginning. And for me, that's a great reminder sometimes just to get through the workday. But it's also a reminder for us, like, if you pray with your family in the evening, maybe go ahead and be bold and ask Catherine for an answer to a particular prayer. She is today venerable, so in the process of perhaps being canonized. But what a great thing, like, if here in Des Moines we could say, like, the Catholic community played a part in helping to advance her cause.
Absolutely, and actually the cause, as it currently sits, the miracle that you're looking to is actually from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm very vested in that idea. And I think that is the last thing. There's so much to say about Catherine, but noticeably brilliant. Everyone in her life noticed that, like, she was made for great things, and circumstances just kept throwing roadblocks in the way. Dad dying, right, to make that difficult. She has to go and do this, what seems like menial work. But her faithfulness in the middle of that, and her willingness to pour herself out for others, eventually, right, all of that, so to speak, is paid off big time. You just don't give random people, bud, your inheritance to someone who's not related to you.
Yeah.
But being faithful in small things, she was made trusted with gigantic things. And the sort of extent that the Sisters of Mercy have showed, both the corporal and spiritual works of mercy, have showed that God truly is faithful to those who pour themselves out with his love and mercy. Well, this is the Uncommon Good. May Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, reign in our hearts, our family, city, state, nation, globe, solar system, galaxy, the whole kit and caboodle. This is the Uncommon Good, and we'll be back next week. But if folks want to join our prayer life here on Iowa Catholic Radio, what are ways they can do so?
Yeah, please do join us in prayer. We broadcast the Rosary at 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., the Divine Mercy Chaplet at 2:55 p.m., and you can pray the Rosary anytime, anywhere using the Iowa Catholic Radio app. And
we're going a little long here, so I'll try to be quick. Everything that we're up to on Iowa Catholic Radio, you can find out on iowacatholicradio.com or the Iowa Catholic Radio app, where you can listen live, but you can also see what we're up to. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's always the Man Up Power lunches. We have things that are happening over at the fairgrounds. Of course, when the fair's here, big news as well. Today, if you're hearing the show right now, you should be heading over to Mercy College, because we will very quickly be having the out to lunch. So, come join us, right? Run over as soon as you can, because we have all of the food trucks and all that. And it might be jazz. I was going to say all that jazz, but live music, for instance. Come join us over at the Crocker lot over here. Like we said, we talk about the confluence of rivers, so down here, downtown, you want to be here for this event. The Out to Lunch that is put on with the Des Moines Partnership. Iowa Catholic Radio will be down there, too. Just head that way, or like I said, you can go to iowacatholicradio.com to find out more. You can also donate at iowacatholicradio.com or call 515-223-1150 to ask ways you can be a part of Iowa Catholic Radio. Bud, blessings this week. Hopefully our voices sound better very, very soon. This is The Uncommon Good, and we'll be back next week.
The Uncommon Good with Bo Bonner and Dr. Bud Marr is heard every week on wonderful Catholic stations like this one, and anytime on podcast. Just search for The Uncommon Good.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and The Uncommon Good provided by Mercy College of Health Sciences. Learn more at mchs.edu.